Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'm going to talk all about how to dress for cold weather or winter running. Alright, so before I go over what to wear, let's go over what not to wear. And when it comes to cold weather running, there's one main thing that you want to avoid. Do not wear cotton. Cotton is going to be terrible at keeping you dry. Cotton will absorb moisture, and the last thing you want when you're running in cold weather is to get wet. So avoid cotton at all costs. Avoid your cotton t-shirt, long sleeve, hoodie, pants, socks. Just leave the cotton at home and grab a more technical running fabric. So in this video I'm going to go over what to wear at different temperatures. So we'll start at 10 degrees Celsius and then go to freezing or 0. Then we'll go into -10 and then lastly -20 and colder. So depending on where you live in the world, winter running, cold weather running will mean a different thing for you. And if you're like me, I grew up in a place where running in -30 Celsius was common, which I'm glad I moved. So let's get right into it. So if you're lucky enough to call 10 degrees Celsius your cold weather running, then congratulations, you live in a very warm climate. And honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about what to wear at 10 degrees Celsius. For myself, I would absolutely wear running shorts and a running t-shirt. For those of you that do live in a warmer climate, 10 degrees Celsius might feel quite chilly, so maybe you'll want to throw on a technical long sleeve or maybe some really light tights. But otherwise, 10 degrees Celsius is pretty easy to dress for. And as far as fabrics go at that temperature, usually you're just looking at like a basic polyester blend. That'll do the trick. Okay, now let's talk about 0 or freezing. This is definitely getting into that more winter running for a lot of us. And from here on forward in the video, it's gonna be all about layering. So at freezing, for myself, oftentimes I'll wear shorts and a long sleeve technical shirt, or sometimes, let's say it's 0 and windy out, then maybe I'll wear some really light running tights. And if it's windy out, I'll wear a basic thin long sleeve polyester shirt usually, and then I'll put a very light jacket over top just to act as a shell to protect me from the wind. And if it's 0 and let's say windy out, then you might want to protect your head or ears as well. So a very thin toque or headband could be an option, and depending on the person, you might want to wear really thin running gloves as well. Okay, now we get into the really chilly temperatures, running at -10 degrees Celsius. So when we start getting into these really cold temperatures, it's very, very important that you're wearing what's called a base layer. So a base layer is usually made out of 100% polyester or merino wool or a blend of the two. And one of the biggest jobs of a base layer is to keep you dry, ultimately keeping you warm. So a base layer is meant to be worn next to the skin and is usually tight fitting. So as you can see here, I'm wearing one of my favorite base layers. I've had this thing for, I don't know, maybe almost 10 years. This is a base layer from Kraft. They make really, really nice base layers. This one in particular is 100% polyester. And when temperatures start to plummet, this is the first thing I grab when I go for a run. So when I wear this, it keeps me dry. So let's say I go for a run and I put a technical long sleeve over top of this base layer. Oftentimes when I get back home and let's say I did a hard interval run, well, my skin's for the most part going to be dry, but this second layer, this long sleeve technical shirt, is going to be quite wet with my sweat. So for -10 and colder, you always want to wear a base layer on the upper part of your body. So if I was going for a run and it's -10 out, usually I would still wear my lighter running tights. It tends to be a little bit easier dressing for the bottom half versus upper when it comes to running. And if it's not windy and let's say I'm doing an easy effort, I might throw on an insulating layer. So I have this other Kraft shirt here. This one's quite a bit thicker. It's not a base layer. This is meant to be an insulating layer, so it goes over top of my base layer. And if it's -10 out, I'm doing an easy run, it's not windy, these are the two things that I would probably wear for the upper half. Now let's say it's -10 and windy. In that case, I'm probably going to wear my base layer, a thin long sleeve technical, and then I'll put a jacket on the outside to act as a shell to break the wind for me. And then at -10, I'm always going to be wearing a toque, probably a thin toque at that temperature, and then always running gloves. And if it was windy, I would probably throw a wind mitt over top of my gloves. And I can't actually find where mine are. I tend to not need them where I live now. But essentially, it's just a big, large wind mitt that you put over top of your gloves, which is going to help act like a shell around your hands. All right, now we get into the really cold temperatures, -20 and below. So let's actually start at the lower half for this one. You'll definitely want to be wearing a thicker sock at these temperatures, or even maybe layering up 2 thinner socks. Again, remember always to avoid cotton. Now at these temperatures, especially when it hits about -30, I always will wear base layers on the bottom underneath my tights. So this base layer here, it's from Kraft as well, 100% polyester, just like the one I wear up top. And these fit tight. They're just like long underwear, long johns, whatever, and they go underneath my tight. And these tights are thicker than my light ones. So these are a heavy tight made specifically for winter running. They're, I believe, fleece lined inside, and then on the outside they have wind panels. So unlike my other tights, not only are they going to be warmer, but they're also going to protect me from the wind. And I find for the bottom half, when you combine this heavy tight with some base layer long underwear, then you're definitely set for the lower half. Alright, now we move on to the upper half, and I actually have a thicker Kraft base layer that I like to wear when it's really, really cold. And usually I'll combine this thicker base layer with a thicker insulating second layer. And then over top of that, I'll put a jacket, usually a warmer winter running jacket. And I've worn this combo running in colder than -30 many times, and it works. Sometimes at these temperatures, especially when it's windy out, you'll also want to be wearing a balaclava, something to cover as much skin as possible. Oftentimes I'll even double up on my gloves. I don't really like running in mitts, but if you can find a nice pair of running mitts, then at these temperatures it's going to help. Alright, so that's how to dress for cold weather running in a nutshell. Some key takeaways would be to avoid cotton, and then remember it's all about layering. So base layers when it comes to winter running are going to be your best friend. You'll always want to wear a base layer next to your skin. Remember 100% polyester or merino wool or a blend of the two, and the base layer is what's going to keep you dry. After that, you throw on an insulating layer, so it could be a thin technical long sleeve or a thicker warmer technical long sleeve, and then if it's windy, you always put a shell on over top of that to break the wind for you. So I hope my tips helped you. If you have any questions about anything, just leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you. And if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.